fantastic sparkling day. Excuse me, something just about went down the wrong way. Welcome to Porchlight Letters podcast number 2184. Tonight we are talking about when bold looks like boundaries. This is part 4 or episode 4 of our Tiny Acts of Boldness theme for this week. I love this. I'm kind of enjoying this boldness thing because there's things that as we're going through this, I'm realizing there's things that I have done in my life that were actually acts of boldness. And I was sort of like, oh, okay, well, that didn't really seem like much. But then when you look back, it was like, actually, it was tiny, but it had a big impact. And that's kind of what we're talking about this week. So sometimes the boldest thing you can do is draw a line, not in defiance, but in devotion. Devotion to your peace, your energy, your purpose. Boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're fences that honor what you're building within. What do you think about that for a sec? It teaches us that boldness isn't always loud. It often whispers, no more. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a form of clarity. Saying no can create more space for what matters most, and every health limit is an act of self-leadership. I like the whispers. I get lots of whispers. My voice, it comes from the little guy sitting here inside my head. That's where it comes from. I don't know why, but that's always seems where that's where the direction of the voice comes from. So anyway, some people go, she's a little crazy. Yeah, in a good way. I am. You got to be crazy for this life. You only get one of them. Some people go through it very prim and proper and everything in its place and all of that. And that's fine because that suits them perfectly, but not somebody like me. I am hell on wheels. I am crazy. Okay, I do have some times where everything has to be in its place. And then there's other times where it's just sort of like, well, let's go do this anyway. Where we step out of those boundaries, we step over them, we just go do it. But remember, boundaries are not selfish. They are a form of clarity. They help us guide us in the direction that we need to go or that we want to go. And saying no can create more space for what matters most. And every health limit is an act of self-leadership. What happens when you honor your energy instead of overextending it? You stop explaining and start choosing. People may not understand, but that's not your job to manage. Because it's not your job to manage what people understand or don't understand. It's their job to understand what they need to understand. Okay, so they are supposed to manage themselves. Like we are supposed to manage ourselves. And whether we understand or not, it's up to us ourselves to understand what it is that we're going through or what it is that we need to be stepping out of our comfort zone for or what bold step we're supposed to be taking. If other people don't understand, it's not a problem. Now, there used to be a time where I would worry about that. They don't understand, so now I'm trying to explain it to them, and meanwhile, I'm getting off course. Stay on the path, and just remember, it's not your job to manage whether other people understand or not. And we're talking boundaries here. We're talking boundaries. We're talking acts of boldness. We're not talking about explaining to somebody how to use a system or how something works in their job or for their product that they have purchased. No, that's completely different. We're talking about when you're working on your tiny acts of boldness, when you're taking that little step of boldness, because you really you might feel excited about it. In those cases, it is not your place to make them understand. Just do you. That's all I can say is just do you. How we carry forward, we practice boundary setting in safe spaces first. So before we take some of those bold moves, we're always practicing. We're practicing in our daily lives. We are practicing those little boundary setting steps in the comfort of our home, in the comfort of our office, in our works, in our workspace, in our space with our family and friends. We are practicing boundary setting in safe spaces first. We reaffirm that it's okay to disappoint others if it means staying true to yourself. Yes. So it's okay to disappoint others. As long as you're staying true to who you are. If you're going off course, if you're going off course, I don't know where half of these words come from, I tell you. If you feel like you are going off course and it's disappointing others, you might want to turn around because it could, and you will know if you're off course because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't fit. So you might have to like readjust everything to get back in alignment with yourself and stay true to yourself. Keep noticing how much more grounded you feel when you're not stretched thin. When you overextend yourself, you're floating. You're not really grounded. And that's a good time to step back and go do whatever it is that you need to do to ground yourself, whether it's going and standing outside in the grass and scrunching your toes in the grass, whether it's just walking around on the grass, whether it's getting in the garden and scrunching your toes in the dirt, going to the beach and scrunching your toes in the sand, going for a walk. My favorite part of the beach is where the water comes up and the sand's wet. I love that feeling of standing there on the sand as the water comes in, and then as it goes out and you feel that sand moving up from underneath your feet. That's the coolest feeling. What I don't like is all that dry sand I have to walk across from where the path is to that wet sand area. That's the bit I don't like. I'm not a big soft, dry sand person. I like that wet sand that you can stand in the edge of the water as the water comes up over your feet and then it drags out the sand from underneath your feet. That's me getting grounded. Walking on that dry, powdery, sandy stuff, that is not this girl. So if you notice that you are floating a little bit and you need to get grounded again, remove yourself from the situation and go do what you need to do to be grounded. It could be praying, it could be meditating, it could be sitting quietly in a chair, so quietly sitting in a corner, just becoming present in the moment. Can I share? I'm going to share a story with you from today. It was, where is she? Oh, she's down on the floor. This morning was, okay, so this week Zeffy has been not interested in going for walks and hasn't had the energy to go for walks. So that's put me on seizure alert, not watch, but alert. Because if she gets too still and her blood glucose drops too much, then seizures are imminent. And she kind of acts like she may be on the edge of one. So we have our routines in place. We get her grounded. We will go and lay in front of the TV, and I will put the TV onto the YouTube channel for the dogs with the anxiety and stuff, because they got really cool relaxation music on there. Or sometimes I will put on a TV series that I'm currently watching. She sleeps most of the time anyway, and I spoon in behind her. I lay on the cushions and she lays on her padded mat that's there, and we ward off the seizure that way. Today we did something different. I came in and she was laying on the floor where she is now, down there. And usually when I go to pick her up, if she's laying on the floor and she knows I'm going to pick her up, she just goes all loosey-goosey. She just like flops and becomes like a Raggedy Ann doll. Like she'll completely relax everything. So you pick up her leg and it just flops. She does. Because she figures the floppier she is, the harder it is for me to pick her up. She didn't do that today. She just kind of, okay, you're picking me up, fine. So I picked her up. Then I sat in the recliner here and I reached down and I pulled the lever to put the footstool up. And then I cradled her. So her head was here and her body was down here, but her chest was where I could feel her heartbeat on my stomach here. I could feel it. So we were almost heart to heart. It was awesome. It was amazing. And I turned and looked down at her and she's just staring. She's just looking me straight in the eye. She is just watching me. And there was so much. And in that moment, there was so much that we conveyed. She didn't fight me at all, which is unusual because usually she does. And she completely relaxed. She felt safe. And I'm like, why don't you do this all the time when I do this? I just tell her, Mum needs a cuddle, and she goes all Raggedy Ann and like a rag doll, and I'm going to pick up this floppy dog. And but today she allowed me to pick her up. She allowed me to put her into that cradle position. And we stayed like that for over an hour. She has never lasted 5 minutes in that position on the chair before. Before today, she's never lasted 5 minutes in that position. She'd fight me and get off. Today, we were there for over an hour, and the only reason that we got up from that position was because I had to get online to do a Q&A session for the company I work for. That's the only reason. But when it came time to getting ready for that, she must have known the time was coming close because she starts moving a little bit. So I help her down onto the floor, and then she just completely flops down on the floor on my feet. She's never flopped on my feet before, and if she has, she moves. She doesn't like laying on my feet, obviously, but today she was like that. And it was just a really great time that we both grounded ourselves. She was grounded in herself in the moment. I was in the moment with her, and we just grounded, and it was just a beautiful moment. It lasted over an hour, and we just basically sat there and looked each other in the eyes until we both fell asleep. And I didn't even have the alarm on or anything. My phone was actually in my pocket. I couldn't reach my phone because she was laying there. If I went to reach it, it would disturb her. So I basically just stayed in that position, just cradling her and just stroking and just giving her belly scratches because she loves her belly scratches. And it was just the most beautiful time and the most connection that we have done in the 5 years I have had her. And being in that moment, not worrying about anything else, because I got a lot of stuff going on right now. Just removing ourselves out of the fray of everything, and just to have that quiet, in the moment, present time with each other was amazing. And we just sat there and just looked at each other until we both fell asleep. So that was us grounding ourselves in a moment with each other. Will she let me pick her up and do it again? Probably not. We will see. We will see. It may become a morning habit thing for her. We shall see. So, keep noticing how much more grounded you feel when you're not stretched thin. We took that time to step back out of the fray and just connect human to dog. And it was a beautiful connection. And we let our boundary, let your boundaries, what was I going to say? It's gone. But we put a boundary around ourselves in that moment. Nothing was going to interfere with that moment. My phone was dinging as messages were coming in. I didn't care. I just completely ignored it. Our boundary had been set that this was our time. We were staying true to ourselves, and we may have disappointed some other people because we didn't respond immediately to messages. Doesn't matter. We were having our moment. So another thing, the way you can carry it forward is to let your boundaries evolve with your needs. They're not set in stone. So your boundaries can be moved if they can evolve with your needs and stuff. You might put boundaries up to protect what's growing inside for a while, but then you realize that, we need to move those boundaries so we're ready for the expansion or the next step of evolution that we have to do. When it comes to your legacy, when you set a boundary, you model strength wrapped in kindness. You give others permission to protect their peace too. The next generation learns that worth isn't measured by self-sacrifice. And we have some reflection questions for you. So our reflection questions today that you can put into your journal. And sorry, I haven't switched the QR code back. I'm still wanting people to go in and vote on the songs. So that one's still up there, and they're pretty cool. It's a pretty cool song, just two different versions of it. Which one do you like? Which one speaks to your soul? So our reflection questions, which can be found in the description below the video. Number 1, what boundary are you ready to set, even if it feels scary? Sometimes the first step is just writing it down. Where have you said yes when you meant no, and how did it feel? How can you honor your energy better this week? What might change if you saw boundaries as a gift, as gifts, not ultimatums? That's a good question. And our closing thought for this evening, boundaries are bold, not because they push people away, but because they hold you steady. Say it with love, say it with strength, say it when it matters. And with that, we are out of here. We will be back tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening.